Hey there, you're listening to episode 362 of Better Than Before Breast Cancer. I'm your host, Laura Lummer, and today is a very special day, a day of celebration. I am recording this on July 11th, which is 13 years to the date that I got my first diagnosis of breast cancer. There's some days that we just don't forget. For me, it's the date of that first diagnosis, the second one as well, the day that I finished chemotherapy. That's a big one. And I mean, you got to reflect, right? When these days come up, you can't not look back and think, wow, I've had 13 years of life since hearing those words, I have cancer. And I distinctly remember the first time that I was diagnosed, I had gotten a call. I was at work and I had gotten a call from the doctor's office. And I think I've shared this story before that I found the lump in my breast on July 3rd. I was in the doctor's office on July 5th. I went through the mammogram, I think I did a mammogram, an ultrasound, the biopsy. And on July 11th, I got the call at work, and my doctor's assistant or whoever the front office person said, "You need to come in today. Can you get here this afternoon?" And of course, I knew what that meant. And I said, "Please just tell me. Like, I'm at work." Just tell me. I said, "I'm sorry, but we need you to come in." Right? They would not tell me over the phone. So I went there, and of course, I got the diagnosis. And I feel like it was one of those movie scenes where everything just got, like, dull, like, I couldn't am I really hearing this? Like, as if the doctor was going, "Wah, wah, wah," right? And in my head, I was thinking, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die," because all I could think about was my brother, and hearing his diagnosis. That was the only experience I'd really had up until that point in my life with someone who had cancer. And I just thought, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die. What does this mean? Is this lump like one lump because cancer is everywhere else? Is this the only lump and it hasn't spread?" I mean, I didn't know. All I knew is that when my brother found his cancer, it was everywhere, right? He wasn't feeling good one day. He got really sick. He went in and it was everywhere. So I didn't know. Does this mean it's everywhere? And it was just really friggin' scary. When I think back over how much my life has changed, how much I've done, how much I've gotten to experience in 13 years, becoming a grandma, in that time getting married, right? Moving to literally my dream place to live, walking on the beach every day, starting my own business, leaving my job for a long time, getting a new degree, studying with Nation Winters, getting all kinds of certifications in this area that I love so much, getting to do what I love every single day. And I just think about, man, that diagnosis was so freaking scary. But it was that diagnosis really that catapulted me into the life that I live now. And that's pretty amazing. Does that mean I look at it and go, "Oh, thank God I got cancer"? No, I don't. But I can't help but acknowledge how much I've learned and changed and grown and studied because I did get that diagnosis. And one of the most important things that have learned and that I think is just a glaring part of a healthy lifestyle and something that we overlook and, I don't know, talk ourselves out of or into or whatever it is so many times, that I want to talk about today because I think it's a powerful part of a healing plan and a healthy lifestyle, is understanding boundaries and just not putting up with shit. We do so much that we don't like and don't want to do for way too long because of stories we tell ourselves. And when I say boundaries, we need to check that with ourselves. We need our own boundaries. We need to say to ourselves, "I won't do this to me anymore," right? I am done doing that to me. This is the kind of boundary I'm talking about. And I got to tell you, I'm going to share a story with you because this came up in a big way this week for me. So there's a situation in my family, and I think a lot of people have this in their family. We've got that person in the family who everybody's saying, "That's just the way they are," right? And we just think, "I have to put up with it." Do you? Do we do that at work as well? That's just how they are. This person treats me that way. I guess I just have to put up with it, right? And it's so interesting because here's the thing that I hear about a lot. When another person treats us in an inappropriate way, meaning that you've got your own standards, you've got your own boundaries, you've got the way you like to be treated, and someone does what you perceive as a violation of that. And you're like, whoa, that is not okay with me to be spoken to that way, talked to that way, treated that way, approached that way, whatever it might be for you. And here's where I see so many people's mind go to. Well, I should be nicer. I should be more forgiving. Shouldn't I be like, am I judging them too hard? You know, shouldn't I be more understanding of that person's abusive behavior towards me? Isn't that interesting? Why do we do that? Why do we think it's us who has to be nicer? And this is what I hear. Well, I think that must be my lesson. My lesson is to learn to be a nicer person. And I got to tell you, out of the population of people that I serve, the women that I coach, the last thing these people need is to be nicer people because they're the nicest people. And I would say pretty much 100% of the time, the people that I coach and work with, they're so nice. They're so giving. They're the caretakers. They're the rock. They're the fixer. They're the I do everything for everybody. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't ever want anybody to be upset. I don't want anybody to be sad. That's the people that I see all the time. And those are the same people who are saying, shouldn't I be nicer? Shouldn't I let that person step all over me because I should just be nicer to them because they're having a bad day, right? And they chose to just be mean to me. And I want to throw something out here for you to think about. Maybe your lesson is to find your voice. Maybe your lesson is to speak up for yourself. Maybe your lesson is to understand boundaries. Why isn't that on the table as a possibility? When it comes to self-care, that's a big factor. It's not being nicer to people who take advantage of you, speak to you in an inappropriate way, behave towards you in inappropriate ways. How is that self-care to allow more of that? How is it I should do more for others because I see they need more or I see they need fixing and I'm exhausted and I've got no more energy and I'm stressed out beyond belief? I should do more. I shouldn't think about me. I should think about them. What if the lesson is you should think about you? What if the lesson is you should learn to take care of yourself? You should learn to love yourself and be able to love yourself without guilt, without shame, without self-judgment, and be able to find your voice and state what you need and what's not okay. So I said I was going to share a story and then I went off on a tangent. So we have a situation in my family, and there's that person in the family who, in my opinion, behaves completely inappropriately. And at this point, and some years ago, I made the decision that this is not okay and this person cannot be around me. And I'm totally fine with that decision. But this week, something came up and someone else kept bringing up this person and bringing up this situation and bringing up the fact that it should be okay, right? It should just be okay. Let's just forget about it. It's be okay. But there's no indication that anything with this person has changed. In fact, there's lots of indication that the same stuff is still going on, that at some point I decided this is not okay. I will not subject myself to this. I will not allow this. I won't tolerate it. I won't allow it around me. I won't subject myself to it, period. Right? And so because that situation came up again and I was in the moment just thinking, just don't say anything. Right? Just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. And then I thought to myself, you know what? No, I'm not going to let it go. Because when someone else is saying, you should think the way I think, because then I would feel better. And in order for you to think the way I think, you need to behave differently. And you need to allow stuff that isn't okay with you, that you're not comfortable around, that doesn't make your life better, that doesn't bring more joy to your life. And you should do that because I'll feel better if you do. Is the go-to thought, oh, I should be a nicer person. They're a nicer person. Are they? Are they a nicer person than you? Or are they a person who doesn't even understand the meaning of the word boundary? Are they a person who allows and tolerates inappropriate behavior because they have a story that they should let people be who people are and that they should just keep being nicer and keep letting it happen? This is so important because it creates so much stress in our lives when we don't have healthy boundaries. And I want to come back to thinking about the boundary with yourself first, meaning I won't allow this. I won't do this to me, right? And that can be sometimes other people around you. And that is a big important part I learned through healing, right? Why am I doing stuff I don't like? Why am I doing things that make me really unhappy? Why am I telling myself it has to be this way? What am I afraid of if I decide to change? Why am I allowing people around me that make me want to go get a bigger glass of vodka? Why am I doing this? Right? And there comes a point when you realize that's something you're doing to yourself. So when we're going through this really evolutionary point in our life, meaning you get a diagnosis of a potentially life-threatening disease, and you just start rethinking life and you start rethinking how you want your life to be. But then a lot of stories come up that you tell yourself it can't be like that because I have to put up with this and I have to do this and I have to do that. I did this, right? I did this for sure. When I was diagnosed, I was a single mom, 4 kids, 2 kids still at home. Yeah, this job is sucking the life out of me every day, but I can't leave because it's got great benefits. I can't leave because of this. I can't leave because of that. But I knew that the one thing I really needed to do was leave, right? And it took me a long time and it was really hard. But it wasn't that there weren't other options. It was fear, right? It was thinking of this is scary. I need to put up with this. This is what I was told. This is what I was taught, rather than allowing myself to think what would serve me better? What would help me more? And how could I move closer to that? Right? So we do this with food. I hear this all the time, changing the way that we eat and support ourselves in the ability to move forward with our healing and our health. And we have all these stories. I can't. A lot of times we can't, and we tell ourselves we can't change something that's part of our healthy lifestyle because of other people in the household or other people around us. Right? I can't eat that way because my spouse, my kids, whoever it is that I'm living with, they don't like to eat that way. Right? And when we say that, it's really important to think about it because that's saying, I have a life-threatening disease. Changes in nutrition might save my life, might lower my risk of this disease coming back, but I won't make that choice for me because someone else might not like it. Someone else may have to make different choices for themselves. And so this is again where we have the boundaries for ourselves. We've got to come back to those and say, how do I choose to treat myself? What will I not do? Will I decide at some point I will not compromise my health because I think it'll make someone else feel more comfortable? I've had a lot of discussions over this last week. It's been pretty amazing. In my membership, we've been focusing on approaching life with a beginner's mind. And to me, that means we look at life and we say, man, I have decades worth of stories about the way life is supposed to work, the way it's supposed to be, the way it's supposed to work, the way people are supposed to act. I have so many stories about that. What if I decided to take them all off the table and sit down and really think about what if I could just look at life like it's brand new? What if I could start to work past letting go of those fears and look at life like a whole new experience and ask myself, how do I really want this thing to look? And as we talk about this and as we've done coaching on the fear that comes up and the limitations that come up and the labels we adhere to and the way we've told ourselves we have to be. And I'm not saying we've got to stop being the person we are, but I'm just saying become aware of it and question it. What's really working for you and what isn't working for you? And why are you doing it to yourself? Right? Why are you putting yourself through it if it isn't working for you? And something that's come up a lot, and I've experienced this, and everyone that I coach has experienced this, making dietary changes, but then feeling left out, isolated, judged, uncomfortable with the idea of supporting the changes you've decided are important for you to support your health and healing and to live. But you think if you outwardly say them, if you stick to them, if you stand up for them, if you're going to be in a social occasion or you're going to be at someone else's home and you stand by your belief that this is the way I'm going to nourish my body, someone else might have thoughts about you. Someone else might feel uncomfortable. This was a really interesting discussion that we had the other day. It's like, let's think about this question. Why is it important for someone else, let's say who's having a meal? Let's say we go to an Italian restaurant and I decide to order a salad and an iced tea. But everybody else is ordering pasta and meatballs and Chianti. And they're like, hey, why aren't you eating meatballs and Chianti? And I say, I'm going to have a salad and an iced tea. Come on, have some pasta. Come on, have some Chianti, right? But I don't really want to. But then I do it anyway. Or even told myself ahead of time, I'm going to do it. Not because I want. So there's a difference. If you go out and you decide, hey, I'm going to indulge tonight. I want some pasta and some meatballs and Chianti, and I'm going to do it. That's very different than going to a place and deciding you want to take care of yourself in a certain way, but thinking someone else is feeling uncomfortable about that. So you will compromise yourself with the thought that it's going to make them feel better, right? Isn't that fascinating? And I know it comes up all the time. That's a boundary for yourself, right? Will you say to yourself, I won't compromise the way I know I need to nourish this body for anybody else? If someone else is uncomfortable with me eating a salad when they're eating gorgonzola pasta, that's on them. That's their thoughts. That's their story. That's not my issue. But we make it our issue a lot. I see this all the time. I've been through it before. I've been through sitting at meals where someone is questioning what I eat. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why do you care what I'm eating? Mind your own plate. Is the lesson to be a nicer person and say, okay, I'll eat what I don't want to eat if that makes you happy? Or is the lesson learn to stand up for myself from a compassionate place, learn to speak for myself, learn to honor my own boundaries? This, I think, after 13 years of managing cancer in my life, after 3.5 years of focusing on supporting my body's ability to heal from widespread stage 4 cancer, this is one of the most important things. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I allowing my brain to run stories of who I'm resenting or who I'm angry at or who said this to me, or projecting reels of what might happen if I run into that person or do this or don't do this job or don't pick that up? Why do I let my mind run like that without taking control of it and deciding to choose something else? Why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we create suffering for ourselves? Because we don't honor our own boundaries that say, I love me. I'm going to take good care of me because I love this life and I want to live it as long as I can, feeling as good as I can. And these boundaries are here because it's like, think about like this body is my best friend in the world. Wouldn't you protect your best friend in the world? Like I have these two girlfriends. I absolutely love them. One is allergic to everything. And the other one is her watchdog. And they're together. They do stuff together all the time. They're like sisters. And it's fascinating to watch. The one watches the other. She's like, is there something in that? Is there nuts in there? Is there something in there? Are you aware she can't have that? Right? She's her best friend. Why can't we be like that with our own bodies? Right? And stand up for them and honor them. And not just our bodies in the way of eating, but everything. Just treatment. Our bodies, meaning our mind, our body, our spirit. Why can't we treat everything we need to create a healthy lifestyle and live a fulfilling life of joy as if this was our best friend in the world? And we wouldn't stop at anything to protect her, to take care of her, and to treat her well, right? I think that is lesson number 1. Have your own boundaries, honor them for yourself. And when you do that, not from a place of selfishness, again, definition of selfishness is that you're doing something that's causing harm to someone else, right? Self-care is not selfishness, but self-care and self-love is mandatory in creating a healthy lifestyle with peace of mind, with good, healthy practices. Healthy boundaries are crucial, and you cannot have them with other people if you don't have them for yourself first. So, a beautiful exercise is, why am I doing this to myself? Right? When you notice you don't like it, when you notice you don't want it, when you notice it's not working for you, why are you allowing it for yourself? That's the important boundary work that is the game changer, my friends. And so I am so thrilled to be here doing this episode celebrating 13 years of a diagnosis that changed my life, but put me here where I get to work with this community and serve the women in this community and teach and empower and educate and just like be your cheerleader. I'll be your best friend. I'll be your best friend to help you find your voice and to help you live the life you want to live, because it's amazing when you do that. And it's amazing when I get to see women do that. If you need help with that, come to my website, thebreastcancerrecoverycoach.com, and work with me. We work at individual coaching sessions and my amazing membership, the Better Than Before Breast Cancer Life Coaching membership, and metabolic health coaching packages to help you like really get to know that body of yours, that best friend of yours, and everything that that body needs to feel good and happy and joyful. You can find everything on my website. And most importantly, just thank you for listening to this podcast, supporting the work that I do, and just letting me be here is an honor to get to be here and do the show and support this community of amazing women who, like I said before, are some of the most incredibly wonderful, giving, supportive human beings in the world. And keep that up, but turn some of it towards yourself. You deserve a little bit of that goodness, a lot of that goodness. Take it on. Happiness is very healing. All right, my friends, I'll talk to you again soon. Until then, be good to yourself.